For thousands of years, the galaxy was full of life. Planets shined with cities. Alien ships flew between stars. Many species worked together, ruled by the Galactic Council, wise, powerful, and proud. But now something was wrong. One by one, planets went silent. First, it was the Corel homeworld. The Council thought it was a power failure. Then the Vark ship stopped sending messages. Next, the great cities of the Xelari were gone. No signals, no life, only dust. The Council grew afraid. They sent out emergency messages to their strongest allies, but no one answered. Entire regions of space had become dark. No war, no warning, no survivors, just silence. In a huge space station orbiting a blue sun, the Council held a meeting. 12 alien leaders sat around a table. Their faces showed fear, a rare thing among the powerful. "We must find the cause," said High Speaker Ralten. "Whatever it is not natural." "We should call the Solarians," said another. "Their weapons are powerful." "The Solarians are gone," replied a voice. "Their star systems went dark yesterday." The room went silent. Someone whispered, "What about Earth?" A pause, then laughter. "Humans? The primitive ones? The violent ones?" "They are not part of the Council," said another. "We left them behind long ago. They are too emotional, too unpredictable. We don't need them." So Earth was ignored again. Far away, in the Milky Way galaxy, Earth still lived. The humans did not know what was happening in the rest of the galaxy. Their scientists listened to space signals, but they heard only noise. Until one night, the signal changed. It came through deep space antennas in Alaska and Australia at the same time. A soft sound, almost like a whisper. But it had structure, rhythm, like a voice speaking through static. Dr. Elena Rose was the first to decode it. She worked alone in a quiet lab, drinking cold coffee and staring at waveforms. Suddenly, she sat up straight. The signal repeated one phrase in an old galactic language, a language no human should know. But she translated it. "They are coming. Run or rise." Elena's hand shook. She saved the file, backed it up, and called her team. In the next 2 days, the same signal was picked up by 12 countries. Scientists around the world were confused. The language was not from Earth. Yet someone, or something, had sent it directly to humanity. World leaders gathered. Some thought it was a prank, some feared invasion. But the signal was real, and it kept repeating. "They are coming. Run or rise." Then more strange things began to happen. Satellites caught images of burned-out planets near the edge of the galaxy. Deep space probes returned with nothing, just blackness, as if stars had been swallowed. People on Earth started to feel uneasy. It was like something was watching, waiting. And still, the signal came. Elena met with General Marcus Hale, head of Earth's space defense. "We were never contacted before," she said. "They called us violent weak." Marcus looked at the signal on her screen. "But now they need us." "No," Elena replied. "I don't think the Council sent this." "Then who did?" She didn't answer. She didn't know. But something inside her, a strange, deep instinct, said this was bigger than any war, any alien race. This was something ancient, something old enough to fear even the stars. In a quiet place on Earth, deep in a mountain lab, a machine turned on by itself. It had not moved in 10,000 years. Its lights flickered. Its voice, soft and metallic, whispered just one word. "Awakened." The world changed after the signal. News channels talked about it day and night. Scientists argued. Some said it was a warning. Others said it was a trick. But all agreed it was not human. And the words were still clear. "They are coming. Run or rise." World leaders met in secret. Earth had many differences. Borders, politics, languages. But the fear was the same. The stars were going dark. One by one. Humanity had been left out of the galactic family. They were ignored, forgotten. The powerful races never saw humans as equal. Too emotional, too chaotic. But now those same powerful races were silent. Gone. General Marcus Hale stood before a large map of the galaxy. Red dots marked dead planets. The number grew every week. "We are next," he said to the room of scientists, soldiers, and leaders. "We have no choice. We must prepare." "But prepare for what?" someone asked. Hale looked at Dr. Elena Rose. She nodded and stepped forward. "There is something you need to see," she said. She showed a series of recordings, the signal, strange energy patterns in space, and satellite footage of something massive moving past Pluto. It wasn't a comet. It changed direction. "No natural object can do that," Elena said. "It's intelligent. It's watching us." A silence filled the room. Then Hale spoke. "Earth has always fought against the odds. We may be forgotten, but we are not weak." Across the world, nations started working together. Old warships were rebuilt. New spacecraft were tested. AI programs were upgraded. Human scientists worked with speed, creativity, and something the other species never understood: desperation mixed with hope. The United Earth Defense Fleet was born. It wasn't large, it wasn't perfect, but it was human. Fast, fierce, and ready. Among the new crew was Captain Riker Shaw, a former fighter pilot known for breaking rules and surviving impossible missions. He stood beside his ship, the Valiant, a sharp black vessel built for deep space scouting. "This thing's gonna fall apart," he said with a grin. "Then fly it carefully," said Elena, handing him a data core. "What's this?" "The signal," she said. "And something else. It activated an old machine under the Himalayas. We think it's not from Earth." Riker's eyes narrowed. "You're telling me this planet was hiding alien tech, and no one knew?" "Until now," Elena said softly. "Maybe it was sleeping. Waiting." "Waiting for what?" She looked up at the stars. "For us to be ready." The Valiant launched with 2 other ships. Their mission: scout deep space. Search for the source of the signal. Find out what destroyed the other species. They jumped past Mars, past Jupiter, into the dark. What they found wasn't empty. A dead ship floated ahead. Alien design, long, sleek, and covered in strange symbols. It belonged to the Jar, a race once known for their advanced weapons. Now the ship was quiet. Lifeless. Riker and his team boarded it carefully. The halls were cold, lights flickered. And then they heard a noise. A whisper. Not in words, in memory. Each team member saw something personal, something they feared. Riker saw his brother, lost in a crash years ago, whispering, "It's coming." Then the voice was gone. Elena, watching from Earth, gasped. "The ship isn't empty," she said. "It's infected." The humans planted sensors, took what data they could, and left. As they flew back, the Valiant's cameras caught something behind them. A shadow. Not a ship. Not a creature. A hole in space itself. It moved. Not fast. Not slow. Like it didn't need to hurry. Like it already knew where they were going. Back on Earth, Elena stood in the underground lab. The ancient machine, now fully active, began projecting symbols in the air. Words in an old alien tongue. She ran a quick translation. It read, "Only the forgotten will remember. Only the lost can fight." Elena smiled, just a little. "They left us behind," she whispered. "But maybe that's why we'll survive." The darkness had a name. At least, that's what the ancient machine under the Himalayas seemed to whisper. Humans had always believed that space was empty, a vast, cold nothing between the stars. But as the Valiant and its crew returned from their mission, they learned just how wrong they were. Behind them, something followed. The fleet had only been gone for 3 days, but already Earth's defense teams were ready for war. They didn't know what kind of war it would be, But one thing was clear. The enemy was not like anything the galaxy had ever faced. Captain Riker Shaw stood in front of a huge holographic display aboard the Valiant. Alina stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the data scrolling across the screen. "We were right," Riker muttered. "The Tsar didn't just disappear. They were consumed, just like the others." The crew had found evidence of a strange energy drain on the Tsar ship. It wasn't a weapon. It was more like a hunger, something that consumed energy, memory, and even time itself. Alina tapped a few buttons, bringing up a diagram of the galaxy. "The pattern is clear now," she said. "This thing is moving in a circle, starting from the outer edge of the galaxy moving in. It's already wiped out several systems. The next stop is Earth. And we're just sitting here waiting for it." Riker asked, his voice sharp. "There's no choice," Alina replied. "We need to know what we're dealing with first. We need to find out how it attacks, how it works. Only then can we fight." The dark force that followed humanity was not alive in any way they understood. It wasn't a creature or even a ship. It was a void, a consuming force that traveled through space and time, erasing anything it touched. Every species that came into contact with it went silent. Not just their ships, not just their cities. Their memories disappeared. Whole civilizations were erased from the past, as if they had never existed. The enemy's power was so deep, so unnatural, that even the most advanced species couldn't fight back. They were swallowed whole by the darkness. Back on Earth, Alina worked tirelessly with her team, analyzing the data. She studied ancient texts, languages, and energy patterns. But everything pointed to the same thing. The enemy was not only consuming physical matter. It was consuming knowledge, erasing everything it touched from existence. The more they understood, the more frightening it became. "This thing doesn't just kill," Alina said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It erases history. It wipes the memory of every species it consumes. Entire races will vanish. Their stories, their knowledge, gone." "What do we do then?" Riker asked, his tone grave. "We need to fight back," Alina said. "We need to stop it before it reaches Earth. If we can't stop it, it will rewrite everything. It will make us forget who we are." Meanwhile, aboard the Valiant, Riker's crew began to feel the strange effects of the darkness. One by one, they started to have strange dreams. They saw things that shouldn't have been there. Faces of people they'd never met. Places they had never been. And sometimes in the middle of the night, they woke up and couldn't remember what they had just been doing. The enemy wasn't just physical. It was in their minds too. It was changing them, making them question what was real. Riker had always been the leader of his team, strong, confident, and stubborn. But even he began to feel the weight of the darkness. His mind felt cloudy, and he started to forget small things, names, dates, faces. As they neared the last known location of the Zhard, they found something even more terrifying. Another abandoned ship. This one was different. It was larger, older. The ship had been drifting for centuries, and when they boarded it, the first thing they found was a message. A single word written in blood on the wall: "Remember." But the message wasn't for them. It was a warning from a civilization long gone, a civilization that had tried to stop the dark force but had failed. Whoever sent this, they knew, Riker said, his voice low. They tried to fight it, but they failed. Alina ran her hands over the walls. This isn't just some attack. This is a war against existence itself. Back on Earth, the message had been decoded. "We need to activate the Genesis protocol," Alina said urgently to the leaders. "It's an ancient weapon, something humanity built during the early years. It's hidden deep beneath the surface, but it might be the only way to fight this thing." The Genesis protocol was a forgotten weapon, buried beneath the Earth's crust, powered by humanity's emotions. It wasn't perfect, but it might be the only thing that could stop the consuming darkness. But as Alina spoke, a sudden realization hit her. The void was not just coming for Earth. It was already here. The lights flickered. The screens went black, and in the silence, a single message appeared on the communication system. "You are already forgotten." The message appeared on every screen on Earth. "You are already forgotten." For a few seconds, the world froze. No one spoke. No one moved. Then alarms started to ring. Communications went down. Satellites lost contact. The global defense network was being shut down from the inside. The enemy wasn't attacking with bombs. It was attacking with silence. Deep inside the Earth, under layers of rock and steel, the ancient machine began to glow. The Genesis protocol had been silent for thousands of years. Now, it woke up. Dr. Elena Rose stood before it, her face pale. She had read the old texts. She had seen the warnings. "This weapon is dangerous," she told General Hale. "It was built when humanity first reached the stars. Built to protect, yes, but also to destroy." "We don't have a choice," Hale replied. "The darkness is already here. If we wait, there won't be anything left to protect." In orbit, the Valiant struggled to keep systems online. Captain Riker gripped the controls as strange shadows moved across his ship's sensors. They had no shape, just shifting dark energy. They didn't attack with lasers or missiles. They erased. One scout ship beside them vanished without a sound. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Just gone. As if it had never been built. Riker turned to his crew. "We need to buy Earth some time. If that weapon works, we have to keep the darkness away until it's ready." He looked at the stars. "And if it doesn't work, we go down swinging." Back on Earth, the Genesis protocol revealed its true form. A giant sphere of living metal, beating like a heart. It was connected to a vast network of ancient tunnels and power sources that ran beneath the planet's crust. Elena placed her hand on the control pad. The machine read her thoughts. It connected to her mind, searching her memories, her fears, her hopes. A voice echoed in her head. "You are still human. You still remember. You may fight." Then the sphere lit up, and a wave of bright energy burst into the sky. A signal. Not to attack. To call. In deep space, something answered. A hidden satellite, far beyond the solar system, turned on. Then another. Then 3 more. Each one old, forgotten, built long ago by the first humans who had once left Earth and gone beyond the stars. Elena's eyes widened. "We didn't know," she whispered. "Our ancestors weren't just dreamers. They were warriors." The Genesis protocol sent the activation codes. One by one, ancient starships, hidden in the void, powered up. They were bigger than anything modern Earth had ever built. Weapons powered by gravity. Shields made of light. Engines that bent space. General Hale watched the screens light up. "They left us tools," he said. "They knew this day would come." "They didn't abandon us," Elena whispered. "They trusted us to finish what they started." But the darkness wasn't waiting. In the sky above Earth, a great black shape appeared, like a hole in the stars. It wasn't a ship. It was the end. The last phase of the enemy. The unmaking. Everything it touched faded from time and memory. Birds fell silent. Clouds stopped moving. Cities began to flicker, like dying lights. Captain Riker, flying the Valiant, watched in horror. "It's here." He sent a final message to Earth. "Whatever you're going to do it now." The Genesis protocol responded. Elena hit the final key. A giant pulse shot from the sphere, up through the clouds, past the atmosphere, and struck the dark shape above. It screamed. Not in sound, but in thought. The scream tore through every human mind like a storm. A flood of images followed. Worlds lost, species erased, histories forgotten. The darkness was alive. And now it was afraid. The ancient ships hidden across space received the signal. They moved. Slow, powerful, full of fury. Earth was not alone. The forgotten fleets of humanity had returned. In the lab, Elena fell to her knees. Blood came from her nose. The machine had taken something from her, a piece of her mind, to power the final pulse. But it had worked. For now, the darkness stopped, paused, and humanity remembered. General Hale stood at the edge of the command deck. "We were abandoned once," he said. "But now, we rise." The message appeared on every screen on Earth. "You are already forgotten." For a few seconds, the world froze. No one spoke. No one moved. Then alarms started to ring. Communications went down. Satellites lost contact. The global defense network was being shut down from the inside. The enemy wasn't attacking with bombs. It was attacking with silence. Deep inside the Earth, under layers of rock and steel, the ancient machine began to glow. The Genesis protocol had been silent for thousands of years. Now, it woke up. Dr. Elena Rose stood before it, her face pale. She had read the old texts. She had seen the warnings. "This weapon is dangerous," she told General Hale. "It was built when humanity first reached the stars. Built to protect, yes, but also to destroy." "We don't have a choice," Hale replied. "The darkness is already here. If we wait, there won't be anything left to protect." In orbit, the Valiant struggled to keep systems online. Captain Riker gripped the controls as strange shadows moved across his ship's sensors. They had no shape, just shifting dark energy. They didn't attack with lasers or missiles. They erased. One scout ship beside them vanished without a sound. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Just gone, as if it had never been built. Riker turned to his crew. "We need to buy Earth some time. If that weapon works, we have to keep the darkness away until it's ready." He looked at the stars. "And if it doesn't work, we go down swinging." Back on Earth, the Genesis protocol revealed its true form, a giant sphere of living metal, beating like a heart. It was connected to a vast network of ancient tunnels and power sources that ran beneath the planet's crust. Elena placed her hand on the control pad. The machine read her thoughts. It connected to her mind, searching her memories, her fears, her hopes. A voice echoed in her head. "You are still human. You still remember. You may fight." Then the sphere lit up, and a wave of bright energy burst into the sky. A signal. Not to attack. To call. In deep space, something answered. A hidden satellite, far beyond the solar system, turned on. Then another. Then 3 more. Each one old, forgotten, built long ago by the first humans who had once left Earth and gone beyond the stars. Elena's eyes widened. "We didn't know," she whispered. "Our ancestors weren't just dreamers. They were warriors." The Genesis protocol sent the activation codes. One by one, ancient starships, hidden in the void, powered up. They were bigger than anything modern Earth had ever built. Weapons powered by gravity. Shields made of light. Engines that bent space. General Hale watched the screens light up. "They left us tools," he said. "They knew this day would come." "They didn't abandon us," Elena whispered. "They trusted us to finish what they started." But the darkness wasn't waiting. In the sky above Earth, a great black shape appeared, like a hole in the stars. It wasn't a ship. It was the end. The last phase of the enemy. The unmaking. Everything it touched faded from time and memory. Birds fell silent. Clouds stopped moving. Cities began to flicker like dying lights. Captain Riker, flying the Valiant, watched in horror. "It's here." He sent a final message to Earth. "Whatever you're going to do, do it now." The Genesis protocol responded. Elena hit the final key. A giant pulse shot from the sphere up through the clouds, past the atmosphere, and struck the dark shape above. It screamed. Not in sound, but in thought. The scream tore through every human mind like a storm. A flood of images followed. Worlds lost, species erased, histories forgotten. The darkness was alive. And now it was afraid. The ancient ships hidden across space received the signal. They moved. Slow, powerful, full of fury. Earth was not alone. The forgotten fleets of humanity had returned. In the lab, Alina fell to her knees. Blood came from her nose. The machine had taken something from her, a piece of her mind, to power the final pulse. But it had worked. For now, the darkness stopped, paused, and humanity remembered. General Hale stood at the edge of the command deck. "We were abandoned once," he said. "But now, we rise." The darkness was not gone. Not yet. But for the first time in weeks, humanity had a chance. The Genesis protocol had stalled the void. The ancient weapon had done its job, but it had come at a cost. Alina's body was drained. Her mind, broken by the power of the weapon, could barely hold on to her thoughts. But she knew one thing: they had bought time. And time, for the first time, was something they could use. In orbit around Earth, the fleet of forgotten ships, ancient starships built by the early humans, gathered like a storm. They were massive, their weapons powered by the energy of stars. Earth's new fleet, the United Earth Defense, joined them, ready to face the thing that had come for their world. On the surface, General Hale stood with Alina, his face stern but full of hope. "We've got one shot at this," he said. "The enemy is huge, but it's not infinite. We hit it with everything we've got. If we can't destroy it, we slow it down long enough to figure out what comes next." Alina nodded. "We can't let it take us again." High above, in the cold, silent void, the battle began. The dark shape, the unmaking, hovered above the planet. Its presence sucked all the light from the stars, leaving a black hole that seemed to swallow everything in its path. No weapon had ever touched it. No shield had ever defended against it. But the humans had something the darkness didn't understand: will. And that will was powerful enough to burn through the night. Captain Riker Shaw led the charge. His ship, the Valiant, was small compared to the ancient warships, but its speed and maneuverability gave it an edge. As he flew into the heart of the battle, Riker's eyes stayed focused on the massive shadow above him. He clenched his fists around the controls. "Let's show them what humanity is made of." The ancient ships fired first. Their weapons tore through the darkness, lighting up the void with bursts of blinding light. Energy cannons fired from every direction, blasting the black hole with pure, concentrated power. It seemed to push back, but only for a moment. The void fought back, sending waves of dark energy towards the human fleet. Ships shuddered under the pressure, their shields barely holding. Every time a ship was hit, it flickered and vanished, not destroyed, but erased from existence. Riker's voice crackled through the comms. "Stay focused. Do not let it erase us." Back on Earth, Alina watched the battle unfold. The Genesis protocol had powered up, sending its signal to the ancient ships, guiding them. But there was still something missing. The darkness didn't fight like any enemy they'd ever known. It didn't have a clear form, a leader, or a ship. It was everywhere. Alina closed her eyes, feeling the hum of the machine beneath her. She reached out with her mind, trying to connect, trying to feel what the enemy felt. The answer came to her in a whisper. It was old, so old it felt like the beginning of time itself. It wasn't one being. It was a force, and that force was terrified. As Riker's ship soared through the chaos, his radar picked up something strange. One of the ancient ships, the Exile, was being overwhelmed. It was huge, its weapons immense, but the void was breaking through piece by piece. "We need to help them," Riker shouted. "They won't make it alone." His crew hesitated for a moment, but Riker's command was clear. He banked the ship hard, diving toward the Exile. "Ready the pulse cannons," Riker ordered. The pulse cannons fired in rapid succession, sending blasts of light that struck the void like lightning. The darkness seemed to writhe, its form flickering, stretching. For a moment it slowed, and the Exile fired everything it had left. Its energy exploded outward, breaking through the shadows, tearing into the blackness. The darkness screamed, not in sound but in the minds of every person in the fleet. It was a feeling of deep emptiness, the terror of being erased forever. On Earth, Alina's hands shook as she watched the battle unfold. The darkness was weakening, but only just. It was fighting back. "We need more," Alina whispered. "We need something stronger." She turned to the control panel. The Genesis protocol was still connected to the fleet. It had powered up the ancient ships, but she knew there was something else hidden within the machine, a last resort. A weapon only humanity could unleash. But it was dangerous, too dangerous. Alina had no choice. In space, the battle raged on. The human fleet, though battered, kept pushing back, buying precious seconds. Ships moved in formations, dodging the black waves of the void, firing everything they had. Riker's voice came through the comms, crackling with static. "We can't hold out much longer." Then, through the chaos, a voice came through. Alina's voice. "We're sending the final strike. Hold on. Hold on for just a little longer." A wave of light shot up from Earth, surrounding the entire human fleet. It wasn't just energy. It was memory. The combined will of every person on Earth. Their emotions, their stories, their histories. Everything they had fought for. Everything they had remembered. The light broke through the darkness, shattering the void, pushing it back inch by inch. And for the first time, the enemy faltered. The stars were quiet. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. The darkness, the unmaking, was dying. The wave of human memory, powered by the Genesis protocol, had hit it with something it didn't understand, something it couldn't understand. Hope. Above Earth, the ancient warships stood like giants. Their hulls were cracked. Their shields were almost gone. But they were still there. Fighting. Leading them, the Valiant moved through the fading void like a burning arrow. Inside, Captain Riker Shaw stared at the sensors. The shadow was shrinking. The enemy was pulling back. But it wasn't gone yet. "It's retreating," one of the crew said. "No," Riker replied. "It's regrouping. One last strike is coming. We need to end this now." On Earth, Alina stood before the Genesis protocol. Her hands were shaking. The machine had taken too much from her mind. She felt her memories slipping. The faces of her parents, the sound of her brother's laugh, the taste of her mother's cooking. But she stood firm. She still remembered why they fought. Alina pressed her palm against the machine. A soft voice whispered in her mind, "Are you ready to give everything?" She nodded. Yes. In orbit, the last piece of the enemy appeared. A final sphere of black, larger than any city on Earth. It moved slowly, but its presence caused time itself to bend. The galaxy's memory shivered. Entire stars dimmed. Captain Riker stared at the shape. This is it. He sent one last message to Earth. To every human who hears this, you are not alone. You were never weak. You were never forgotten. Today, we fight for more than survival. We fight for our story. We fight to be remembered. The Genesis protocol answered Riker's call. A new light formed in the sky, brighter than the sun, more powerful than any weapon. It came from Earth's heart, powered by Alina's mind and the will of billions of humans. It wasn't just a weapon. It was humanity's legacy. The light struck the final darkness head-on. The void screamed, a silent explosion of fear and rage. But the light did not stop. It tore through the shadow, showing it every memory it had tried to erase. The first time a human walked on the moon. The laughter of a child running in the rain. The cry of a mother holding her newborn. The pain of loss. The joy of love. The spirit of those who refused to give up. The shadow fought back with all it had. Ships were erased. Voices went silent. But the humans kept fighting. Even when their weapons failed. Even when their ships broke apart. They held the line. Because they had something worth saving. In the heart of the Genesis protocol, Alina gave her final command. End it. A final surge of energy exploded from the machine. All of Earth lit up. Oceans, mountains, cities, deserts, glowing with ancient power. The light rose into space and wrapped around the final void. And then, silence. When the light faded, the darkness was gone. Not just pushed back, destroyed. Forever. Aboard the Valiant, Riker looked at the stars. He smiled. For the first time in a long time, the stars looked peaceful. Back on Earth, the Genesis protocol powered down. Its job was finished. The ground shook gently, then went still. Alina lay quietly beside the machine. Her eyes were closed, but there was a smile on her face. She had given everything, and humanity had survived. Weeks later, the galaxy began to recover. The other alien species, the ones who had once abandoned Earth, sent messages again. They had seen the light. They had seen the battle. And they remembered who had saved them. In the great halls of the Galactic Union, a statue was placed at the center. It was not of a warrior or a king. It was a statue of a human child, holding a small light in both hands. Beneath it, a single line was written in every known language. In our darkest hour, they remembered us. Humanity, once ignored, once forgotten, had risen and saved the galaxy. Not with power, not with numbers, but with memory, with hope, with the will to fight for more than just survival, with the will to fight for a future.